I'm so excited to have the author of Scale Solo on the show today. Welcome, Pia Silva.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. Great to be here.
Okay, so I know we've met like a million times before, probably through Selena, but I want
Carolyn.
you just, what?
I'm Carolyn.
And Herforth?
We met. Yes.
That is how we met. Oh my gosh, that's right. Wait, did we meet in the backyard?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I was just tequila in the backyard. Okay. So when I was living in New York City, my dear friend Carolyn Herforth there are no backyards in New York City unless you're like a gajillionaire. And she happened to land this like score of a backyard in the Upper West Side. And she has the best events there. She would just have like people over for drinks, tequila, whatever it is, and get people together. And Pia, you were one of the people that I met there, which is so exciting. I love that woman. Shout out to Carolyn.
Shout out
to
Carolyn.
She does work on imposter syndrome. In fact, I have to get her on the podcast to talk about that.
You should. And she actually played a very pivotal role in my business a couple of times. So
yeah, did she coach you?
Oh yeah, I did a couple of VIP days with her that helped me make the pivot that we'll probably chat about a little bit today. So
she's smart.
A really important figure to me.
She is amazing. I just love her so much. And it was so exciting to see her on the Rich Relationships Club call today.
Well, I told her to come.
I know.
Oh, but I couldn't make it. So I'm sad. I'm glad she came. I hope she loved it.
Yeah, I was like texting her. We're going to talk tomorrow. Anyway, enough about that. Enough about her. Let's talk about Pia. So Pia.
This whole
give us a little background.
Carolyn Herforth.
I know. Well, we just love this woman so much. And if you met her, you would love her too. Her laugh is the best. She's got the best smile. She's super smart. She's amazing. Big shout out. And her ears are ringing right now. So anyway. Okay. So Pia, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Like, how did we get here? Because you are teaching people how to scale their business solo.
Yep. Totally. So I'll give you the really high level, but I'll start from the very beginning. I met my husband the weekend he moved to New York, and he was a painter, a fine artist, and also went to graphic design school because his dad said, you need to make money. So I met him and scooped him up the weekend he got here. And,
I love that.
We tried to sell his art on the street to live off of. That was very hard. We freelanced for a long time. And eventually about 3 years in, we decided to, I said to him, basically, you're an amazing designer, but you're not great at managing all of these freelance gigs. So why don't we start a business, or basically, why don't I go find you clients and I'll manage the client getting and the money and the projects, and you just do what you do best. And so that's how we started. And
that is like the dream team right there.
I needed someone to build a business around. I didn't care what it was. And he was so talented. And I love his art too. Like, I was completely in love with him and his art, obviously. So I wanted to make a business to support the art. It's very hard to make art money off of your paintings, if you didn't know.
Yes.
And also when we were doing that, his art was very when we were on the street, I used to tell him, you need to paint the Brooklyn Bridge more because that's what people want. And he was like, oh, don't tell me what to paint. It's like, okay, well, this isn't going to work then.
I want to paint the homeless man on the street.
I can't possibly, you can't possibly tell me what to paint. That defeats the whole purpose. So anyway, so that's how it really started. Over 3 years, I'm networking. I'm trying to figure this out. I know nothing about design and branding, by the way, but I'm learning on the job. I'm meeting all these people, and I'm building us an agency based on what I'm seeing in the world. And we end up hiring 2 employees. We got this studio a couple years in, and then about 3 years in, we ended up in $40,000 of debt. And so we had to fire our employees. We didn't know what to do. And at that point, we had been selling about $30,000 agency projects, but they were completely unprofitable. That's how we ended up in debt. We actually generated about $250,000, but we were in debt. So at that point, we're like, what are we going to do now? I thought we were toast. I thought this was the end of our business. And Steve, ever the optimist, he was like, we're not shutting our business down. We just have to think about this a little differently. Like, we're very talented and our clients really like us. Something about this needs to change. So we had been selling this one day $3,000 thing. Really, it was secret. I just was offering it to people who couldn't afford our $30,000 projects. And at that moment, we looked at the $3,000 one day and I compared it to the $30,000 projects we were trying to sell. And I was like, oh my God, like light bulb moment. This is so much better. Like, this is so much more profitable. The amount of time it takes for us to deliver a $30,000 project, in that same amount of time, we could deliver like 30 of these $3,000 $3,000 one days.
Wait, that's a lot more money when you do the math.
3 times as much money at least. So I'm looking at the $3,000. And by the way, this is so much easier for us to sell because I have such a huge network. And as soon as we doubled down on this 1-day intensive for $3,000, it was like the tides shifted. And all of a sudden, I'm like getting all these referrals because it's so clear and easy what we do. All of a sudden, it's very specific and clear, and it's immediate and all of that. So we made $500,000 in the next 12 months, just the two of us, just selling these and obviously raising our prices and all of that.
Yeah.
We were super booked. So yada, yada, yada. I wrote a book about it a couple of years later to get more branding clients to build my authority. And while I thought that that's all it was going to do, all these branding agencies read my book and they reached out to me and said, your book is great, but you keep mentioning your business. And like, I want to build a business like that. Like, I want to learn more about how you run your business. So a few years after that, I hung out with Carolyn Herforth for a day and I said, what's next for my business? And she and I decided that this model that I had developed in my agency was something that nobody else was doing or had. It was like very special to me. I'm sure people do things like this, but I had really honed this intensives model. At this point, we sell 2-day intensives for $40,000. So our prices had increased significantly, as well as the depth and breadth of what we actually
the work that you deliver,
did, of course. So that's when I deleted 10,000 people off my email list. I went all in on branding agencies. And for the last 5 years, I have been dissecting and teaching this intensives model and this business model to 1 to 2 person branding agencies. And then 6 months ago, I decided to expand it back to my original niche, which is all experts, service-based businesses. And that's why I'm publishing this second book, explaining the whole model and teaching it to anybody who sells expert services.
I love this so much. I might be booking one of your little intensives at some point. This is amazing. What are some of the things that you guys had to do in your business to actually scale solo or scale simply? I mean, besides refining the offer.
Yeah. Well, so when we first started with the 3-day, $3,000 1 day, and we actually did a $5,000 2-day. At first, well, the way we got our first clients with that was we went back to all the people that we had proposals out for $30,000. And if you've ever written proposals, it's like, hey, knock, knock, how's that going? I reached out to them and I said, hey, I wanted to actually let you know that's no longer on the table, but we'll do the same project for $5,000 in a 2-day. The difference is you're basically going to get what we make. Like we'll basically we'll make some tweaks, but you're going to pay us $5,000 instead of $30,000 because you're going to trust us to show you what it is. And that is where it all started. And over the years, what I learned and now can explain is that we just cut out all the BS, all the project management, the back and forth, all the feedback and revision, so much of which actually doesn't help the project at all. The things that happen in a project that go on for a long time that have nothing to do with the project, like people's businesses shift or something happens personally and they need to take time off. All these things that drive solo service providers nuts gets eliminated when you shrink the project down to just a few days and you deliver it in that time. There's not a lot of room for the project to go out of scope. And so what we had to do was over the years, we just kept perfecting the process and increasing the value of it so that we could keep increasing the price.
Okay. So how do you get people to hone in? Because some people I've been hearing this a lot. My friend Becca Luna, she helps graphic designers do 1-day websites, which I'm fascinated by because no one really wants to wait 3 months to have their website built and be in this long process. And if you're forced to get it done in a day, I'm sure that there's some form or something you filled out, but you're forced to get it done in a day. You just get the website done. There's a revision window, and then that's it. There you go. It makes it so much more efficient. How do you get the buy-in from your clients? Are they just stoked because it's less of investment, or what is that?
Well, at first, that's what it was because we were only charging $3,000 and $5,000. But over the years, it's evolved into the process I teach now, which is, $40,000 for the 2-day intensive. It's really a complete like fully flushed out strategic, the design and build of the website, all of the copy, the messaging strategy, and all of that. So the way that we sell it, and this is the other piece of the model that's so important, because the idea of intensifying is not to cut corners and go faster.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to spend all of the time you spend on the project on the actual project and
not
get
getting
rid
distracted.
all the time that's not really adding to the value, because it's all the other stuff. So we're just getting rid of that. So the way that we do it is the first part of the model is selling the first step. So I always recommend that instead of doing free consultations or free discovery calls, you instead sell the first step. I call it a lead product. It's got to be a no-brainer price, usually like $500 to $1,000. And that takes the client through a process, an interview process, and then you deliver a brief that essentially gives them all of their opportunities, how to get from here to there. It's a fully fleshed out strategic brief.
Give me an example of how this would like play out. I'm like fascinated by this.
Yeah.
So it could be like anywhere from like, let's say like, what's the price point? Like $500, $2,000?
I usually train people to start at 500 and raise it slowly. I actually don't recommend raising it above $1,000 until you have a reason to, because this is basically you getting paid to pitch really strategically. Mine is $10,000 now, but I do not recommend that. That is specifically because I'm trying not to do them unless like it's a different kind of client. Generally, I kept mine under $1,000 while my prices were at 20 and 30,000. So, it still works that way. But it's an interview. And the reason it's so magical is because you ask questions and you ask thoughtful follow-up questions. And I'm sure you've experienced this, like when you're being asked thoughtful, clarifying questions, you understand and see all of the opportunities and you feel the value more. So often I get off these interviews, I've said almost nothing except the questions, and they go, wow, feel really like heard and understood, and I feel so much clearer and I see all the things. And then of course I take all of that and I distill it into a brief. I have a very specific way that I write this, but the goal of the brief is, and people say they cry, like they get chills, because when you write the brief correctly, you're really saying back to them what they kind of knew, but with all of your strategic insight, and you're showing them, hey, this is where you are. This is where you want to go. This is exactly what you need to get there. You've paid for this, so you can do that yourself. I always tell people, like, you can just buy the LP yourself, or here's one price and I'll take care of it for you. Oh, and by the way, I'll finish it we'll put 2 days on the calendar and it will be done and launched at the end. So you don't have to think about this again. You'll be available for 2 days and then it will be live. And it just takes so much of all the weight.
That is the easiest. That's like the easiest sales process in the world, because like the way you just position that, first of all, I love how you're reflecting back to them, because I feel like the reason why people are bought in, you said seen and heard, right? And you're reflecting back to them what they want people to see and hear about them anyway. And so they're like, oh my God, they get me, this whole thing. And then from there, you're like, oh yeah, go do it yourself. No problem. But if you want us to do it, we'll get it done in 2 days. And it's a price point that's not too like crazy, just get it done. I'm borrowing this, by the way.
Hey,
I'm not actually a service provider, so I don't know if I would maybe there's another way I could position it.
Yeah, I mean, this model works beautifully for anyone who's selling like services, excellence of services. But what I have actually found is through this process, when you first talk to a client, a potential client, they have an idea of what this is going to cost and what they want. When you put them through this process, it turns out usually they need different stuff, and it's usually more, and the project is bigger. And how many times have I seen like a big win that we see a lot is a student saying they chose the package that was twice the budget that they told me they had and didn't even mention the lower price. And that happens all the time because the budget or what they're willing to spend completely changes once you've gone through this LP process.
I love this so much. So how are you integrating AI into this? Because I was guessing that this whole conversation was going to be a conversation about AI. I was wrong.
I use a lot of AI, but I'm like also kind of a Luddite. In this process, I'm a big fan of using AI as you would some like a smart, low-level intern, like
Okay.
it's speeding the process up, but something that I am always explaining and really compelling people not to do is to outsource their thinking. Because when you're selling expert services, people are truly hiring you and trust in you and your understanding and ability to communicate what you know and your strategic thinking. And so we use AI to make that process faster. But I always say the ideas and the strategy must come from you. And if you rely on AI to develop those strategies, not only do I think that's unethical, but it very much could be wrong. And you definitely won't be able to speak about it with authority. So it's not in your best interest in a world where people can do things with AI very quickly. What we have is our strategic brains and thinking and communication.
Yeah, I think AI can be such an amazing tool when it's used right, like as a collaborator, not something to replace your genius.
Yes.
And sometimes it's so obvious.
Oh my gosh.
Right? When people just like, I'm like, the architect paradox, like all the words.
You're like, you did not come up with that.
The paradox of no, I know. This is me saying this as someone who developed an AI tool for their audience. And like one of the things that I train them on is like, you have to study the words the AI uses that you need to remove from anything that is written, any collaboration, because if you don't, people are going to know. It's going to be obvious. And that's the thing that makes you like blend in. Anyway, little sidebar there.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Where do you think that people get stuck in like a pricing trap, or they get stuck in the process of building out this system for their business?
Well, I mean, certainly most business owners and definitely most creatives struggle with raising their prices, feeling comfortable with it. I have a very specific way that I coach people on raising prices for their services. And I think it's not what I think a lot of people say, which is like, you're worth it, raise your price. I'm like,
yeah,
you might be worth it as a human, but your services are worth what people will pay. So obviously the whole lead product process helps elevate your authority, being seen as an expert. It does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. But also, if you're at $10,000 for a project right now and you want to get to 30, I think the path to that is to sell, raise over and over again as quickly as possible. So
what does that mean?
So I think it's important so let's put it this way. If you have sold a project for $10,000 10 times, and then you raise the price to $20,000 because it's worth it, because everyone's going, oh, you're giving $20,000 worth of services. And then the next person you offer it to says, that's too much. Immediately, you're going to go, oh my God, I priced it too much. You're going to start questioning it. Oh, should I lower it? Which is not going to be good for your confidence. Instead, I recommend, you sell it 10 times for $10,000 or 5 times, and then you raise it to 11,000, 12,000, something.
Oh, just like
marginal.
incremental.
Yes. Yeah. Because if the next person you offer it to, and it's $1,000 more, says that's too much, you have the real world confidence. This is not too much. It's almost the same as what 10 other people have bought. And then you don't question your price, and then you can sell it again. And I think pricing comes down so much to your own personal confidence and clarity around the pricing.
Yes. And so when someone is really struggling with their pricing model or communicating the value around pricing, how do you coach them through that? Because I feel like that would be really valuable for people to hear. Yeah.
Well, so I actually start by figuring out what your price points should be. So I have this formula that I call it the 50-25-25 rule to freedom and profit, because when you're selling your expertise, I believe you have to make all of the revenue you need working 50% of your working hours or less. And based on that formula, we can deduce how much you have to charge, how long your projects have to take, how many you need to sell per year. And it's actually very simple. So I usually take people through this process first, because I want to see, where are your prices compared to where they need to be to support the financial and freedom life that you want. And, usually it's far apart. It's not necessarily that they aren't charging those prices. It's just that their projects are taking too long at those prices.
Yes, I've been in that scope creep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's not really always about raising your price. It's about getting to a profitable price, much like my $30,000 projects were not nearly as profitable as my $3,000 projects.
Yeah.
So first we figure that out, and then we see where you're at. And then what I coach people to do is look at, we're here, we want to go there. Now we have a path. So now we're going to look at your process and we're going to tweak. Where can we tighten your delivery? Intensives is how I teach people how to tighten it. How can we elevate the perceived and actual value of what you're offering? Well, the lead product is going to do a lot of that for you. So now we just have to work on how you communicate that value. Are you speaking to a very clear niche? Are you presenting as an expert? How are we having our prospects experience us as that expert advisor and not just a commoditized, freelancer, because you must if you want to charge premium prices. And then I coach them to, listen, sell it a couple of times at the prices that you can get, and then let's raise them. And let's raise them at whatever increment feels so comfortable to you that if somebody said to you, that's too much, you would say, I know it's not too much because other people have paid me essentially the same thing. And sometimes people have to do that incremental raise smaller than others, but it works every time to build that like real inner deep confidence. I'm much more of I don't have as many like money minds. Like I take people through money mindset stuff, but for me, it's like practical. It's like, let's get some real world data that people will pay this for.
This is such a practical way for anyone listening about raising prices. It's like incremental raises. Like in the jewelry industry right now, everyone's like up in arms because of the gold and silver prices skyrocketing. Yeah. And there has to be like big jumps. And at the same time, it's just a good practice. Like, okay, what if we just raise it anytime, just raising it incrementally, like a little bit more. I just recently did this I don't offer a lot of one-on-one coaching, but people were reaching out. So I created a couple of packages. And like the first thing I'm like at first I was like, well, people pay this much. And then I'm like, I'm not charging enough. So then I raised it. And then like, it was like easy. Now I'll raise it again. Some people say it's too much, but I'm like, also, I don't care because I don't want to do it. So it's like, it's like, I'll do it if the right person comes along and they're willing to pay it. But like, it's not how I make most of my money.
And Tracy, that's because you already have that internal value of your time, and it's not worth it to you if it's less. And that's really what I want to help people build, is that internal clock of, no, I don't want to do it if it's less. So now I'm not like a reed in the wind. You know what I mean? Like, oh, somebody says, somebody wants to bargain with me, and no, we want to get like solid ground here. We want to create demand so we know, oh, this is too much for you. That's totally fine. There's someone around the corner who can afford it, and that's my client, and you're just not my client, and that's okay.
It's amazing what like the consumers and the public will say about stuff like that. And it's kind of like, well, it's okay if it's not in your budget, but this is the price. The price is the price, and that's just what it is. And it's funny because I'm getting on a sales call tomorrow with someone, and she was telling me what her numbers were in our business. And I'm like, you checked the box that was asking for one-on-one coaching with the rate. Like, I just want to make sure that you understand because I don't want to waste my time on a call with someone if they're not like, I'm like, I'd rather lose people and not get on a call telling them the price up front than trying to convince someone on a call and create this big gap. Cause like, it's like you either want my expertise and 30 years of experience or you don't. So that's why you hire me. Right. Absolutely. She's like, oh, I have other income. Like, I'm good. Like, I just want to know how to do this fast. So I was like, okay, I'll get on a call with you, but that's it. I feel like there's so much power in feeling like embodied in like what you're charging, And one of my friends said, she's like, Tracy, like what would it feel like for you to charge like 50,000 for like a year-long mentorship with you? And I was like, well, let me play around with that. It feels a little bit high right now, but like, that's where I want to get to. Like if someone wants to work with me, like in a one-on-one capacity, like it has to be more. And also it's not what I also want to say, it's like, it's not for people who are struggling in business at that point. It's for people who want that your brain. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And, when you're in a position like you are in, where you have this business, you can put whatever price you want on it, because it's like, well, I don't need this money. I only want to do it if it's this price. That's the price that feels worth it to me. And that's a kind of confidence that people have to build, I think, when they're struggling with their pricing. Yeah.
Yep. And so I think thank you for sharing that, because I think it's a good example for people to understand, like, you can charge whatever as long as you're giving value, right? But you have to check in with the internal compass, because like, for instance, if you're stating a price that doesn't feel in alignment with what you like, how you feel about yourself, then people are going to read that energy.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I can tell.
It's a great, I know you're saying you don't talk a lot about mindset, but this practical way of raising your prices is an easy way to build confidence.
100%.
So
like anything
easy.
with building confidence, right? It's like you build confidence by doing things and
just by trying it and all of this.
Absolutely.
So I have one more question for you.
Sure.
What would you say to people who feel burned out by doing everything in their business and they're just super stressed out right now?
I would say it's probably because you're doing too many things. And a lot of the things you're doing probably aren't getting you toward your goals. And that the best thing you can do is probably sit down and cut half of the things you're doing and focus on the couple of things that are really going to help you. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and I know this, I'm so guilty of this. Like I have so much personal experience with this. And I don't know if you can relate to I love a great list where I can check things off a list.
Mm-hmm.
That feels so good to me.
Feels so good.
It feels so good.
Busy, not productive.
Yes, exactly. So I spent so many years in my business with doing so many things, and half of them probably I could have just not done, but I did it because it felt like I was getting somewhere. And I have a totally different approach to business now where it's like, I don't want to do anything that I can't clearly see is taking me toward that goal, or I have some sort of strategic reason. And I definitely filled my plate with stuff sometimes just to feel like I was doing something productive.
You know, it's really interesting. I just went through this process myself because in my personal brand, I'm launching some new programs and there are things that I'm really passionate about and I want to do them, but I'm like, I don't want to do anything half-assed anymore. So how can I pull back? And one of the things that I did with my jewelry mentoring company was basically turn it all into basically an AI coach. But it's more than an AI coach. It's basically like a whole team with AI. It's called Desire AI off my methodology. And I realized that like my number one goal this year is to get that to 1,000 monthly users. And doing all these other things was distracting me. And I'm like, okay, so what if what if I didn't do 3 of the things or 4 of the things and I just focused on 2 because I need more than one thing. So I'll give myself 2.
Fair.
And I do weekly webinars for this thing and then like continue to just focus the content on getting people into that vortex and world, continue to get people in, have a great offer that people can't deny or can't like not do. And then the other thing is more the fun and my creative outlet, and I can just focus on that. What would that look like if I just put pause? Even though the higher ticket and all these things sound more attractive right now, what if you just did that and really built your audience for this bigger thing and waited until I'm so proud of myself, Pia, because you don't understand. Like I remember hearing you talk about on Selena's group, maybe last year sometime, maybe it was like earlier in the year. I can't remember. You spoke about this scale solo stuff. And I was like, why is she yelling at me?
Oh no.
No, I'm joking.
I do have an aggressive way, but
no, I'm not. I say this jokingly because like, you know, when you feel called out, you're like, why are they yelling at me? It's not because you were yelling. And so I'm like, it felt so good. Like I made this decision. I gave some people refunds because they pre-ordered. And I was like, my nervous system like finally relaxed because I don't feel overloaded. And like I normally run on being overwhelmed and not overwhelmed necessarily, but just like having a lot on my plate. Like I feel like I thrive in that. And I'm like, what would it feel like to just pull back a little bit, even like 20%, and see if that actually helped you speed up? And I'm excited to see. I will report back later, maybe by the time this interview goes live.
I love this plan for you, Tracy. There's no way you don't hit that goal if you focus.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to hit it by June. We're launching this. This podcast is about your thing, but maybe people will get the idea about focusing, like simplifying, right?
Yeah.
The thing that we're really excited about is the AI photo studio, which is a huge like hang up for jewelry designers. Like you can try to figure out your own AI photos online, but a lot of times the output in the hands are awful. Like it's just like big old meat paws. So Jason's building this incredible thing in there. And I feel like that's going to be the thing that like just tips it right there.
A builder in-house.
Yeah. No, well, he's like, what's your husband's name?
Steve.
So you're like Jason and I'm like Steve.
Gotcha.
So I give him the idea and he goes and does the stuff on the back end. He's really, he has a chemical engineering background. So his brain is he's very creative too, but like his brain is very process oriented, where I'm just like full chaos in my brain. I'm like, new idea, like highly creative, like daydreamer, like out in the clouds half the time. So the thing that's amazing about him is he can take, like I told him over dinner one night, like this idea I had, like by the next morning, he's like, what do you think about this? And like had built it.
That's so
I'm
fun.
like, okay. So like the first thing, and then we decided to build the app, which actually took 90 days, but it would normally take someone over a year to do what he's created. And it's insane. So there is something about having partnership teams where the brains are very different, right?
Yes.
It's like, you know,
I feel like most partners in life have those kind of yin yang.
It's been fun. We're still navigating, trying to work together because we're both a little bit hot-headed, but we're making it work. We're very excited about it though. It's like so fun. Like, isn't it fun to like, you're like, oh, okay, I'm scaling all this back. And like, now I'm doing this thing and it's like actually working.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels so good.
Built our agency together for 10 years. And then when I started coaching and training on this, part of it was to let him be a full-time artist, so we kind of stopped working together, except when we do these projects once in a while. So I know exactly what you're
It's so fun.
I love it. It's amazing.
Let's talk about your book. Before we go.
Okay.
The Scale Solo is the reason why we're here.
Yeah. So basically everything I have been coaching hundreds of people on for the last 5 years, really 10 years, and I've been doing for 15 years. It was finally time for me to put it all in a book. I mean, to be honest, partially just to like make it my IP. You know, these are really detailed processes and a whole business model that I've just developed over so much time. And I wanted it to be somewhere and exist in the world. Like, this is the no BS business model. And I decided about 6 or 7 months ago that I was ready to expand who I was teaching this model to anyone selling their services and not just branding agencies. And so the book is in service of doing that. And I'm really excited because experts and service, like all service businesses, was my niche for 10 years. And I just went a little deeper for a little while because, you know, inch wide, mile deep. I really wanted to get in the weeds with dissecting this process with people. And so that's what I did. And this book, I mean, it's a tell-all. Like, I don't hold anything back. Like, this is how you do it. This is what it looks like. You can totally take this and run with it.
I'm so excited for you. I started reading the advanced reader copy. I cannot wait for this to go live. What's the date that it launches?
Thank you. March 3rd.
March 3rd. Yay. Okay. Thanks so much for being here, Pia. Where can everyone find you? Where can they buy the book?
Yep. You can go to scalesolobook.com and you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I hang out. Pia loves your biz, B-I-Z, or on LinkedIn, Pia Silva.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Pia.
Thank you so much, Tracy.